How good is it that we have footy back? I'm making this video just before the Wars and the Sharks game, so I'm super hyped up and I can't wait to watch that one. It's going to be a cracking match. It's great to have footy back. We are here for the cash cow centres. So the guys under 450k that have some type of potential cash to make. And for these guys near the 400k mark, you're looking at hopefully getting them into the mid 40s, giving you a really solid amount of value, or close to the early 40s. Should still do a good job for you, and maybe they can serve a purpose for the first half of the season or something like that. And then as you get into the mid 20s price guys, the guys are in that 350 to sort of 300 280 type of range, then there can be a little bit more excitement around those guys potentially making a little bit more money than that of these guys ahead. But this is the cash cow centers under 450k. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. If you haven't checked out the podcast as well, all that good stuff will be out a little bit earlier than the YouTube videos. As I said, I'm trying to grow that podcast side, which you guys are doing an awesome job with that one. So a big thank you on that front. And we're going to kick it off with Casey McLean. So he came in before his brother last year. Jesse was injured at the time. So that's how Casey got his opportunity. And the funny thing is that, Jesse is a Jet himself and a little bit older than Casey. So he actually came in and played really well. And probably at this stage looks like that Casey's going to get the wing slot, even though he's more of a center and Jesse is more of the winger. We're hoping that it is Jesse, because at 446k for Casey, he picked up 3 tries in 7 games at center. We think he's a chance of getting that wing spot for sure, where I do think 37 to 40 is quite possible, because we've seen anywhere from that sort of 37 onwards for any of the outside backs in the Panthers. When you're in a really good team, that kind of number is expected. But when you're looking at that, it's between sort of 3.5 to 6.5 points of value. And at that price point, you would want a little bit more than that. We would need his meters gained up near the 200 and have a nice high try strike rate for that to work for him at this price point. So for me, it's a no for now, and we'll see how he plays. We've had guys like Alamotti come in and he got himself to a 505 price point after last year, and there's no reason why Casey McLean can't either at his lovely price there and like his lovely skill set. Bronson Xerri, we go to him at 443k, 33.2 average for him last year, and it was a bit of a mess for Bronson. It was a 0.6 try scoring rate, which is really nice for center. For a 33 average, it's a pass just on that alone. You look at the other stats and it's 8 tackles a game, which is gross. You're looking for 10 plus minimum. 148 meters with 2 tackle breaks a game. So you look at those numbers and you go, well, they could definitely improve, but is he the type of player to show that improvement? It's his second year back from having a ban from the game. Does he have the work ethic? I think he does. He's worked hard in his time off. Is he able to step that up and get to sort of 4 tackle breaks a game? Keep the run meters at 148. I think is really nice. Get some extra tackles, and if the Bulldogs can do well, he can maybe continue on, but I don't think so at this point. And we move to the other side of the park with Stephen Crichton, and with a 435 price tag for someone that has had really good seasons at center for the Panthers, though. That's the big one there. And we have looked at guys like Karaz, we've looked at Reid Marnie, these types of players there. They've had lower seasons in 2023. In Reid's first year at the club, it was a much lower return for him compared to what it was last year. He went up by 7 points, and Karaz improved as well as the team improved. And that's the big thing with Crichton. He came in, his first year was the year that they improved, and he only could average 32.6. So that's the worry. And you've seen it with the other guys. They had that growth in the second year, but the whole team was terrible in the first. So that's the worry when you're comparing year to year, with 2023 being 43.3, a good 10.5 points higher than what it was at the Doggies. He had 0.5 tries compared to 0.7 from 2024 to 2023. He had 2 tackle breaks compared to 3.6. He had 0.3 assists to 0.6. He had 1 goal per game as well. He had 0.1 turnovers versus 0.6. So there's a few things that got him up that extra 10 points, but it was just a little bits and pieces across different stats. So it's nothing crazy, as I said, across the board. It's just more attack in Pantherland overall, and he's going to have more one-on-one action where he has tackle breaks and offloads and all the like. So I do expect a little higher average, but I still think he's under 40, and in that scenario, he would be an okay pick. Potentially 5 points of value, that type of range in the 37.5, 38, 39 at best. I just can't see him going back to Pantherland 43, which is what we'd need him to be of value and of importance in our potential sides 3 weeks out in the preseason. We're actually 21 days away. That's so cool, from Vegas. I love that. Cannot wait for that. But that's Crichton. That's where we're at with him, 435k. Zach Laybut. There's been a little bit of talk around Zachy Boy in recent days. 431k for him. Got to watch his little interview that he had at the Cows there. 32.3 with his average last year. That included him getting injured in one of the games. It included him having 2 low 20 scores, and included him having a 59 where he tore up. I can't remember who it was in round 1 last year, but he absolutely burnt a couple of guys one-on-one. He had a nice try and a lovely try assist early on in the game, and then did pick up a penalty try later in that fixture, which was bogus. I loved it, considering I owned him in Supercoach, but it wasn't ideal, I don't think, the call anyway. So to score 2 tries and have a line break and try assist as well, to only get 59 is a bit concerning, especially when the following 2 games were early 20s. He did score a try in the 19 minutes that he had in the 4th game and got injured and did his ACL. So he's coming back from ACL surgery, which is a worry in itself. For me, he is a watch, personally, coming back from injury, straight up, in the 400s. Like, it's a bit worrying for sure. I'd be happy to launch all in at 330 or 350, but 430 is just that extra 80, 100k that does make it a little bit tough. He definitely needs tries to be relevant at this stage, as we saw with those games last year and the couple that he had in 2023. But the big thing that is in his favour, I think, this year is that on the right-hand side last year with Chad, you're comparing that to Dearden and Val and Murray Talangi on the left, which is where the ball went, basically. So he hardly got the footy and didn't get too many runs, unfortunately, for Zach. So I definitely think it could open up more. If he gets that left centre spot, Vaialea's going to be on the right. We know that Murray Talangi is going to be left wing. We're just unsure on the right wing at this stage, and also that left centre position between him and Jackson Purdue, who we will talk about in the back end of this video. That's kind of the worry with Jackson, is that we've got Laybut there that has plenty of talent, and I really do hope he has a massive career. He looked awesome, has looked awesome in all the games that he's played. Just didn't get any footy in a couple of them to make those scores look pretty poor, but I do hope he has a really good career. Tolu Kola. 424k for him with the wing fullback dual. And the guys, there are a few that have dual, but if they're not likely to play centre, I will talk about them in wing fullback. Colo just continues to average low, so it's hard to expect too much from him. He has a 31.8 average last year, and at the moment we just expect 30 to 35 unless he is the fullback. When he's at fullback, he's 40 plus every game and has ridiculous games in him, as we saw in the back end of a couple of years ago. The emergence of Lehigh Hopewadi may hurt this as well, given he's a Jet and he's going to likely be on that left wing, I believe, and can do some damage there, and then he's a chance to go back to fullback as well. Again, we're unsure on this one. He has lots of talent, but you have to pass with him at centre. It just doesn't work. All right, we've jumped down a big price point. Isaiah Tass comes in at 325k, and his stats read really well when you're looking at 23 and 22, but last year was absolutely disgusting. And can you wipe that out of your mind and make the decision to grab Isaiah Tass? He had 1 try and got given no footy. It just means yuck in 8 games is what that means. 94 metres per game. For a centre, you definitely need 100 plus, otherwise you just plod. You really plod in the 20s and 30s. That's for sure. The tackles were fine, 11 and 2 misses, and surprisingly enough, he actually, in the 2 previous years, was like 13.5 tackles a game and 15.5 across those 2. So it's a little bit lower last year. I definitely think it's scary to buy Tass, because this is what he scored in the 8 games, 22.1. It was disgusting. It was games in the teens, it was games in the 20s, and games in the 30s, and there was no better and plenty worse. He was really good in 2023, averaged 37 with 124 meters gained with a 0.4 try and assist rate. So good numbers at that. And if we can get to that, it's 15 points of value. But to make it sound a little bit better, he has a 38 average in his debut season, which is wild that in his third year that he could go so poor. And that does make you think, was he carrying injuries? Did he just get a little bit unlucky in a few games and then he was carrying something and they just never went to him? It's just going to depend where he does end up. We're going to have Whiten back to the left centre role. Is Campbell Graham going to be okay from ball one? Is Tass going to be the wing? We probably want him on the left wing. It would be a little bit more exciting, although it is outside Whiten, who we know is sticky fingers, Whito. The team's likely to be better. Oh, and that 30 average in the debut season was a 0.1 try scoring rate, which is similar to what he had last year, and 131 meters. So to have a 0.1 try scoring rate and average 38 as a center in this league in your debut shows you have talent. And he's someone that is very, very interesting to begin the year with. I definitely think he has to be a bounce back candidate for this season, surely. Wow, it's some good numbers for sure. This is the best numbers we've seen in this price point. And 2 out of 3 times when you were younger, and he's still young, I think that's massive. Now, we haven't looked to the wing fullback position yet, but I've just started mucking around with my side, and I've had a play with guys like Munro and Tass in the side. And if you've got like a Latrell as well, which I haven't played around with as yet, apart from the team that you just saw this morning in the 5 the top tier guns video there. But yeah, Tass and Munro in the same team, is it a bit worrying? Potentially, for sure. But Isaiah Tass is going to be a fun one. And if he gets the wing slide, he'll get Jewel as well. Same situation with Tamale from the Raiders in this one. He's a 45.4 New South Wales Cup average last year, and he was a little bit lower the year before at 34-ish from memory. It was about 10 points different or so. He had a 0.5 try rate in that one with 8 tackle breaks per game, which, sits pretty good there. When you usually see these guys moving from cup to first grade, it's usually a pretty good situation in terms of it being able to cross over well enough. Like 8 tackle breaks is more likely a 4 to 5 in first grade, but that's completely fine. He did have one game of 30 with no try or base in the final round of last year, which is really solid at that price for sure of 300k. Like, he does get the little bump, unfortunately, with the 30 average, but he's not priced at a 30. He's priced well down into the 20 range. But I think it's a decent chance of that wing spot in general. But the question is he going to be ahead of Albert Hopewade anyway, who has chosen to sit out the Vegas trip because of his of a newborn coming, which is good fun. He could definitely lose his spot back to Albert Hopewade in round 2, but we've got trials to see how he looks in that. We've got is he playing tonight? Might be. Can't remember. Anyway, I'm doing this before the game, so we might have seen him by the time you see this video. I can't remember if he was named in that or not. Anyway, who knows? Is he going to keep that spot? Is he going to play well enough in the trials? Is he going to play well enough in round 1 to keep that spot? Albert Hopewade hasn't destroyed the games that he's played in recent history. Jackson Purdue, so 250k for him. He played 3 games last year in the centres. He held his own in that time, but it was against Roosters, Panthers, and the Dogs. So when you look at that average, it includes an interchange game as well. But you're looking at, in the games that he's played, a 29.7 average, and that's all you'd need. You don't need too much from a 250k player. I really like the 15.3 tackles to 1.7 misses. But Roosters, Panthers, and Dogs were the 3 teams, and that's tough viewing for sure. Like, Dogs were a top 4 defensive outfit for fantasy and Supercoach points. Roosters and Panthers were, Panthers like number 1 always for outside backs, and Roosters were good last year as well. So he had 2 tries, 2 line breaks in that few games there for his 29.7 average. But as I said, the tackle numbers are good. He's got so much talent, and we don't need too much from a 250k player though. I said likely gets the center spot. This was when I did my analysis a couple of days ago. We'll say potentially gets the center spot. He does have a 50 average in Q Cup, with 2 games off the bench for 30 minutes and the rest at both halves positions. So the reason he played centre last year is we were a fair bit short, unfortunately. And he gets stats across the board in attack and offense, which is awesome. So if you go forward with him, expect some safety of somewhere near a 30 average and probably 10 points plus of value if he earns a spot by playing great in the trials. I think that's what we need to look at here, is that he has to play well in these trials. So I think lock down that spot. With Labour coming back from his ACL, he could easily go back through Cup. Or if Jackson doesn't really set the world alight and Labour gets a trial and he looks pretty good, I think they'll go with Labour, which could be frustrating. And 2 to go, guys, with Marion Seve and Stafford Toa. But if you are interested in potentially joining the private group, there's plenty of good reasons for it. You've got my top 10 analysis, which shows you exactly how the guys made the top 10 last year and how you can do the same. Personally, I've helped hundreds of people now. This is into the 3rd year of this, and we had the 8th and 9th player last year be a part of the private group. We've got massive prizes. We have 5K in prizes and cash and prizes last year, which was awesome. So jump in. There's heaps of people that love fantasy in there. So if you want to be a part of that, check the description for all those details. Oh, forgot Mr. Robbie Toya in there as well. What am I doing? He just wasn't in bold, but we got Marion Seve, 3 to go, 250k for him. He has averages of 40 and 39 in the previous 2 years. So he played 1 game last year for 4 and they priced him at 250. Happy days. So if there are injuries, if the injuries come, just pick him. The big thing here with, or the issue with him last year was that he didn't get a crack till right at the end of the year. So he definitely fell out of favour. Has always been for the most part, come in and play with injuries, but he's had good amount of games in 22 and 23. Just didn't get the opportunity last year apart from that 1 game. So if he happens to be injuries in the centres for the Storm, then he could be a guy that you do select. Stafford Toa at 250k. Very similar story. He had 3 games, got injured in all 3 games. Wild. 9.7 was his average, and he's priced at 250 as well. He's now likely to be in a better team. He has a ridiculous score against Val Holmes in him. If the injuries do come, just pick him. 250k. It's hard to miss out on something like that. With Rob Toya, guys, 230k. There's still some fair bit of talk that he doesn't make the side, but it's between 3 guys for 2 positions. If he doesn't get a round 1, that's frustrating for us, but he will play at some point. So there is some type of merit for just picking him anyway. We've seen that in the past. It's worked with different guys where, that 1 injury comes, or they're just good enough. They're a good young talent that they do make it into the side. And there's plenty of talk about him starting this year, so he's close. At worst, he's the 3rd centre. I think if there's an injury to one of the wingers as well, they likely move, let's just say it's Nwanga Nitawaze and Billy Smith as the centres. If they get an injury to a winger, if Dom Young goes down, then Mark will just go straight to that wing and Rob will go into the centre. So I think he'll play very, very soon, even if he doesn't make round 1. So keep that in your thoughts. 50 average in New South Wales Cup. He's a jet. 4 tries in 6 games in that time. Big tackle breaks, good tackle numbers, good run meters. So he does everything across the board, which is what we want. It's just an easy game. If he gets a start, chuck him in your side. I think you start him as well in your 17, to be honest with you. So plenty of excitement for someone like Rob. Plenty of excitement for a few other guys in this list if they do happen to get a spot, with Isaiah Tass being the bounce back man in this list, and then hopefully Laybutt can be that guy for my cows as well, with Tamale potentially getting a good chance, and a couple of real cheap 250 guys that if they get an opportunity could easily get back into the 30s and make lots of cash. So that's the center cash cows video, guys. We will be jumping in next with the wing fullback guns video, which is going to be so much fun, into the wing fullback value guys with Pap and all those boys, and then Connor Tracy even. Well, he's going to be in that. And then the wing fullback cash cows, which, wing fullback's a tough position, and we'll have to see how it all shakes out after my analysis. I've done most of it now, so we'll get that guns one out for you, and we'll get into it as we obviously will go through the analysis of the trial games that have happened over the weekend as well. Thanks, guys, and we'll see you in the next one.